Think of a subject. Any subject, doesn't matter. Chances are someone has created a YouTube channel or some sort of outlet to talk about that subject. People create their own channels for a lot of different reasons. In my opinion, there are two main reasons that people create content. Yeah, some people want to make money. Get paid for your hobby. Good for you. Most people just want the views, the clicks, the likes. And I think I can speak for most of these people when I say that it isn't the quantity, it's the quality. You can have 1 million people see your shit, but it's when you make that connection that it actually matters. I know I don't have a ton of views, but you know what? I don't care. I have one more than I had before. And it's not just anyone. It's that 1 in a million connection. The same person that got me involved in this life to begin with. The LARPsecutioner found me. He has a place for me with his people. And together, we're gonna make the world a little more ghastly.
Drinking whiskey in the kitchen and telling scary stories around the fire. Music, monsters, and mayhem. Killers, cannibals, and cults. Fearful fiction and furious fact. Tall tales and terrifying truths. This is a scary home companion. We all know that one guy. A little awkward, a little weird, doesn't quite fit into any situation. And it's not for any reason that you can put a name to, it's just a feeling. You know the one I'm talking about, don't you? Someone came to mind, even if you can't say that name out loud, it still came to mind. This guy doesn't look like a psycho. He's polite, he might be successful, mildly funny perhaps. And yet, there's that feeling you get when he's too close. You can't say why, but you don't want him to be too close. You don't want him to get to know you. You don't want to talk to him. You don't want to sit next to him. Sean McNamara was that guy. Always had been. As a kid, he had no friends. The other neighborhood kids didn't want him around, nor did the neighborhood parents. Later, through middle and high school, Sean tried his hand at finding a clique, any clique, to join. The goths, stoners, jocks, nerds, even the AV club. No one wanted him. He wrote out his last years of public schooling by diving into the online world of LARPing and cosplay. It was a natural fit. He could hide his face behind a mask. He could hide his body behind a costume. He could hide his personality behind another, better, more famous one. Every day can be Halloween if you want it to be. Sean didn't feel much of a connection with any of his cosplaying or LARPing groups, which was because deep down, Sean didn't really care about the characters he was pretending to be. He was just using all of this as a way to connect to other people. He finally found that connection. 2015, but not in the way he expected. This was at the annual Vampire Masquerade Ball, which was in Spokane that year. As Sean walked, alone, friendless, through a sea of other faux vampires, he came face to face with a woman clutching her throat. Standing just behind this woman was a tall, thin young man with light brown skin and a dazzling, toothy smile. The man was slipping a straight razor back up into his sleeve. The woman's throat had been cut ear to ear. She staggered over to Sean, spurting blood between her grasping fingers, gasping wordlessly for help. Sean looked at her killer, who winked at him. This was his introduction to the LARPsecutioner, a serial killer who had been terrorizing conventions and LARPs over the last few months. It was that man, that moment, that connection that opened up a whole new dark corridor of ideas inside of Sean McNamara. He realized that he had been confining himself to cosplaying as other people's characters. He didn't have to do that. There were no rules. He could become whoever he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted, without consequence. Quietly, Sean started to make new friends. Perhaps friends isn't the right word. Other people who shared his morbid interests. Super fans of the LARPsecutioner. People who were inspired by what other people saw as madness. The LARPsecutioner was not insane. He was no mad killer. He was careful. He was focused. He was playing the game on a different level than anyone else ever had. And they all believed he was teaching them. Sean and his friends wanted to follow in the LARPsecutioner's footsteps, which was much easier said than done. Sean and his new friends were far too wise to just go out and commit some random murder. Like the LARPsecutioner, they needed careful planning. They needed devotion to the craft. And they needed money, a shit ton of money. And that, the money, turned out to be the key. Through a shady friend of an online contact, Sean's friend made a connection with an organization called the Gunnymen. The Gunnymen specialized in human hunts. They offered torture chambers. They offered package weekends where you could be whoever you wanted to be and kill whoever you wanted to kill without consequence. In 2018, Sean and 4 of his online buddies had a very special and very expensive cosplay night where they reenacted a horrific event called the Night of the Long Knives. And they did so by murdering a handful of hapless victims. After years of yearning and fantasizing, Sean finally felt and tasted hot blood splashing across his face. Things didn't go entirely according to plan. 4 of their victims fell, pleading and helpless and sad and pathetic before them. But that 5th one, that goddamn bitch, she ruined it for everyone. 2 of his friends died, and Sean lost his hand. As he recovered in the hospital, Sean started to have vivid dreams unlike any he had ever experienced. It was as if his acts of violence, or the acts of violence perpetrated against him, had opened up a door in his mind.
After getting my ass kicked, apparently my hand wasn't worth salvaging. Which wasn't my call, but seeing as I didn't wake up until after the matter, I didn't really have a say in it.
It's not my preference, but I know they did the right thing, I guess. There wasn't enough of it left anyways, not enough pieces to save my hand, so I guess they just hacked what was there and offered me a prosthetic, which would have been kind of sweet, but the cool ones were all way too fucking expensive. Who needs it anyway? What happened happened. I can't hide behind it, so I'm like, okay, this stump is my scarlet letter for what I did. What we did. And then the dreams came. The crazy thing is, it was never the same. Never 100% the same dream. The hand collector approached me slowly. I mean, it took weeks of him just walking towards me. Up that ugly beach. That black water. It's like he was trying not to spook me. And finally, he's right up on me. No arms, just little nubs of bones from his shoulder sockets, wiggling around. And then he shows me this little burlap sack laying at his feet. Now it's laying at our feet. It opens up and this hand crawls out. It's my hand. I recognize it. It's mine. Of course I can tell that it's mine. It starts crawling up him. I can tell. It's his now. It's his. And then he whispers to me, "Thank you."
Sean never checked out of the hospital. He woke up from a dream in the middle of graveyard shift and walked out past empty nurses' stations and empty security booths. He went back to his shabby apartment, the one that was small and cheap and shitty so that he could save money for his hobbies. That very night, he felt compelled to record his first video. He just had to tell people about his dreams. And this time, for the first time, it wasn't about loneliness. Sean wasn't pretending so that people would like him. He was speaking from the heart. He was preaching the gospel. He was, as best he could, shouting from the rooftops because he finally found someone who understood him. Sean had always been searching for a connection to someone, something, anything. He had previously believed that there was a connection between him and the LARPsecutioner. But that was empty, hollow hero worship. He saw that now. Any relationship between he and the LARPsecutioner was purely theoretical. Serial killer didn't even know he existed. He had to let it go and grab onto something that felt powerful. Now he did feel connected. He couldn't explain it, not rationally, and he was well aware that it might even be some kind of delusion brought on by the trauma. But the time he spent in his dreams with the hand collector felt very real. It felt more real, more solid and grounded than any relationship he'd ever had. That gave him strength. It gave him energy and focus. He didn't know what was next for him, but he had this, and for now, this was good enough. Sean started making videos daily, a dream diary of sorts, in which he shared the details of his nightly visitations with the hand collector. Well, most of the details, not all. He started getting some views. No likes, no comments, but week over week, video over video, he was starting to get a little momentum. A few views up to a few dozen, up to a few hundred. He wasn't exactly going viral, but this was more attention and success than Sean had ever felt. It reinforced his dreams. Life was better now. Because Sean was finding that he wasn't the only one who dreamed of the hand collector. There were others, many others. They were few and far between, but they were a congregation nonetheless. One that seemed to be growing. One that seemed to be increasingly turning into Sean's YouTube channel. In another era, they would have all been considered devoutly religious. But now, they were just called fans.
It's not about religion anymore. It's more or less about fandom. And when you really think about it, they're just different words that mean the same thing. You give your money to it, you worship it, you study it, you recite it, you wear special clothes, you follow specific rules, it has holy books and places and symbols. You write about it, you draw pictures of it, you dream about it. More than anything else, it gives you a community, a place to belong. The faithful congregate together in fellowship and unity. So how are they different? They aren't. Except for one thing. A big thing at that. One is relevant in our culture, and one isn't. The old ways are dying. The old guard is being replaced with people like me. People like us.
It took nearly 6 weeks for Sean to get his first comment. When he got the notification, he checked it with lightning fingers. It was from an anonymous account and simply said, "Long walks on the beach with him are the best." At the same time, he got another notification, a private message from a hidden account. It repeated the same line. "Long walks on the beach with him are the best." Sean knew exactly what that meant. He opened the message and then clicked on the encrypted link inside. A message box popped open in the middle of his screen. "Hi, Sean. My name is Ginger," it said. "Thanks for watching, Ginger," Sean typed, one-handed. "We've all been watching, my dude. You need a new mic. The one you have fucking sucks, but your content is good." A pause, then, "We are interested in you." Sean got sweaty. Who was we? On the other hand, how much of an asshole did he sound like if he asked that? As he debated, he got another message from Ginger. "They're watching you." "Who are?" "Sean, there's a thing we have called the visibility line. When you're under it, then no one gives a shit about you. You're invisible. That was you, but that ain't you. You went over the line, and now they're watching you." Sean was panicking a little. "Who? The FBI? The DRO?" "Yes, and yes. But they're not the ones you have to worry about. From them, you probably get a job offer." "Then who?" "There are people out there who follow us, Sean. They stalk us. They hunt us. And it's always been like this. But now, we kind of have the edge. Online, we're better than they are. We're smarter and we're faster. And we watch the visibility line too. Why? To recruit talent. To find more people like us. Sean was glad they weren't talking because that statement made him grin like a gibbering idiot. Like us. That was new for Sean, and he liked it. Ginger was looking out for him because they were the same. That was the start of a series of messages that bounced back and forth over the next few days. Ginger was super cool. He gave Sean new programs and code that he could use to study his metrics. He learned a lot about who was watching his videos. Ginger also guided him to the right forums and message boards to use. He told Sean which websites were reliable and which ones were just fronts for the other side. And most of them were fronts. Their enemies wanted to trick and trap and trace them to gather data. So while Sean's videos could go on like normal, no problem, he could never let on about how much he really knew. Of course, the more that he learned, the less Sean was interested in doing videos at all. He was finding out about a whole new world and talking about his dreams and feelings. More and more, that felt like a phase that he'd outgrown. Well, almost outgrown. Ginger told him to keep the channel going, just for a little while. There was a way that they could use it to help with a big project they were planning. Sean jumped at the chance to be a part of a team.
Welcome, all my new viewers, all my new friends. I know you're not all my friends, or my fans for that matter. I get full metrics now. I can see you people who hide yourselves. I have some stalkers, it looks like. A couple of DRO analysts, I'm told, actually. And Mona. Hi, Mona. Ginger asked me to say hi. So you may notice I seem a little more chipper than usual, right? I feel good. Better than I have in a dog's age, man. And it's friends. I got new friends on both sides now. Real friends. I used to run with a crew, but they treated me like shit. Who knows, maybe I deserved it at the time. But this time it's different. They get me. They trust me. They lift me up and make me feel like I deserve to be lifted up. No better feeling, I tell ya. The hand was a small price to pay. If I knew what was coming, I would have let that bitch hack it off happily. My hand was my ticket. It's all blue skies now. Big plans with my new friends. And Martin. Do you know his name used to be Martin? He used to be just like me. Now look at him. He's a fucking god.
After that, Sean only posted 2 more videos. No more dreams, no more hand collector. Just taunts to Mona and vague insinuations about what was to come. None of it was his. It was all scripted, given to him in bullet points from Ginger, who had gotten them from his boss. Ginger had often referred to his direct superior, but never by name. Sean had the respect to never ask too many questions. After all, Ginger was looking out for him, taking care of him, telling him what was important. Although he had only known Ginger for 3 weeks at this point and had never even seen him in a video chat, when the offer came, he accepted without a moment's hesitation. Sean was willing to move out of his apartment and join Ginger and his crew. Sean knew it sounded crazy, but it felt so right. It felt natural. It felt like what he was supposed to do. Ginger told him, erase your hard drives, pack whatever gear you really need, and we will meet you out front in 60 minutes. It was the slowest hour of Sean's life. He felt like he was standing on a precipice, and he couldn't wait to jump. Everything that he really needed fit into a JanSport backpack covered with manga and DC Vertigo patches. Out front, 2 roughnecks were waiting for him in a drop-top convertible. They were both bald and covered in tattoos from the jawline down. The bass thumped so hard, the license plate rattled. The driver hooked his thumb towards the back seat, and the passenger put his finger against his lips. Shh. Sean nodded wordlessly and jumped into the back. No one spoke for 15 minutes. And then they pulled off the road into a darkened strip mall and stopped in front of a comic book store. Sean got out. The gangbangers pulled away without a word. Sean walked towards a door that opened for him. It was a young woman. No way she could have been more than 17 or 18. She pointed him towards the back and locked the door behind him. Sean got sidetracked temporarily. He'd never been to this particular comic shop before, and it was pretty fucking great. They had signed Jack Kirby original art panels under glass behind the counter. There was an 18-inch maquette of Barad-dûr, Sauron's Dark Tower. They had the best, most stunning, most authentic replica Wolverine claws he'd ever seen. His escort interrupted his reverie.
I don't have time for this, Sean. Move your ass.
The young woman prodded him into the back office, where a young man was waiting for him. The man didn't look like much. Lanky, gawky, with black hair cut in a Prince Valiant-style pageboy so severe that it must have been intentionally ironic. He wore a rumpled Morrissey t-shirt and had a small velvet bag full of dice around his neck. "I hear you're a big fan of mine," he said. And he shook Sean's hand with a firm, enthusiastic grip. "And you're who?" "Vampire Masquerade Ball, 2015, Spokane, Washington. Ringing any bells?" Sean was floored. You're him? You're the fucking LARPsecutioner?" The man took a stage bow and doffed an invisible hat. "In the flesh," Please, though, please, call me Darmesh. The LARPsecutioner, that's just a brand name, man. It's Ginger's idea, actually. That guy loves puns. Darmesh gestured towards 2 folding chairs set next to a pile of dog-eared Neil Gaiman comics. They sat down and faced one another. Sean was starstruck, unsure what to say next. I really wanted this one-on-one between us, Sean. I've seen your videos. I've heard a lot about you, Darmesh said. It's such an honor to meet you. Sean started to babble, and Darmesh just smiled warmly and let him go. You changed my life, you're my inspiration, etc., etc. The LARPsecutioner popped open a warm energy drink and took a sip. He waited for Sean to settle down. Sean, I was just like you. You know what? I still am just like you. And these people, the people that I work for, I gotta tell you, they treat me good. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. I get to do everything I ever thought about. It's all mine. Mind you, it's not easy. It takes work, sacrifice. I already know you know what that's like, right? But you need to know, Sean, this isn't just a stunt. This is the real deal. The LARPsecutioner was just a way to chum the waters and draw out the other sharks. We wanted to set the table for the real shit. Listen, I'm glad I inspired you. I really am. But now, I want to inspire you to something more. Darmesh pantomimed, looking around the room to see if anyone else was listening. And then he whispered, "We're planning a demonstration. A big reveal. And when it happens, where it happens, after everything we have planned, the eyes of the whole world will be on us. Everyone will be watching, and everyone is going to see. Nothing the government or the cops or the DRO or Lila Ambrose or anyone else can do will put that genie back in the bottle. It'll be the most viral video of all time. And we will all be legends." Sean, we're going to crack open the edge of the world and reveal the end of days. And we're going to do it at the Fantasticon.
It's here, it's finally here, the Fantasticon, bigger, better, bolder than ever before. Over 200 vendors, original artwork, rare comics and collectibles, games, movies, anime, and manga you won't find anywhere else. Previews of this summer's biggest blockbusters, live appearances and autograph signings from LeVar Burton, Clive Barker, Cheryl Lee, Doug Jones, Gareth Evans, Bernie Wrightson, Joe Lansdale, Brian Azzarello, Garth Ennis, and more! Join Bill Moseley, Tony Todd, Danny Trejo, and Diamond Dallas Page for a Devil's Reject meet and greet. See the world champion Olympic archers don their very own cosplays to prove once and for all who is the best. Hawkeye, Green Arrow, Katniss Everdeen, Princess Merida, or Rambo. Meet 7/8 of the cast of Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the reunion panel. The notorious LARPsecutioner has even threatened to make an appearance, so the police say, stay away. And we say, just you try and stay away. The Fantasticon isn't just the best con of the year, it's the best con ever, 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 ever.